My name is Carolyn Morgan. Carol to everyone who actually cared about me. For the past 10 years, I worked as the city's treasurer, managing millions in public funds. I kept the books balanced, caught the mistakes others overlooked, and made sure not a single penny went missing. I guess I thought if I could keep everyone else's money safe, mine would be safe too. I thought wrong. It started on a Tuesday, the kind of gray, drizzling Tuesday Seattle does best. I was still at my desk when my phone lit up with Mom. "Carol, it's Ryan," she said, breathless. "He's in big trouble. You need to come now." The thing about my brother, Ryan, is that trouble isn't a visitor in his life. It's a permanent roommate. Gambling, bad business deals, sketchy friends. I'd seen it all before. "Mom, I'm at work," I said. "Whatever it is, can't it wait?" "No," she snapped. "If you care about this family, you'll get here now." I should have hung up. I should have stayed in my office, surrounded by balance sheets and tax reports. But blood is blood, right? At least that's what I told myself as I grabbed my coat and stepped into the rain. When I pulled into Mom's driveway, Ryan and his wife, Melissa, were already waiting. Melissa was dressed like she'd just stepped out of a luxury boutique, dripping in gold, hair perfectly done, not a single drop of rain daring to touch her. Ryan had that fake, wounded look on his face, the one he used when he wanted something. "Carol, I'm in a bind," he said. "I just need a short-term loan, a month tops. I'll pay you back." Mom stood beside him like a prosecutor delivering closing arguments. "Your brother's trying to save his business. It's just temporary. Family helps family." Melissa crossed her arms, giving me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're doing well for yourself, Carol. We're not asking for much." I told them I didn't have that kind of money lying around. That's when Ryan said the words that made my stomach twist. "You manage the city's funds, don't you? Can't you move things around?" I stared at him. "Are you seriously asking me to steal?" "It's not stealing if you put it back," Melissa said sweetly. Mom just gave me that look, the one that said I was selfish for even hesitating. I wish I could tell you I walked away. But in that moment, I thought about all the times I'd been told, "You're the responsible one, Carol. The one who bails everyone out. The one who fixes the mess." So I told myself it was a loan, just a temporary fix, and I agreed. 2 weeks later, the money was gone. Not invested, not saved. Gone. On a new luxury SUV, a weekend in Vegas, and a diamond bracelet for Melissa. When I confronted them, Ryan laughed in my face. Melissa leaned in and whispered, "You always were too easy to play." That was the moment something in me snapped. But the real breaking point came later that night, when Ryan shoved me so hard I hit my head on the edge of the table. The pain was white hot, then cold, and then nothing. The last thing I remember was the taste of blood in my mouth and Melissa's voice saying, "She's not getting up." And then darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was expecting cold metal, hospital lights, maybe the flat, endless beep of a heart monitor. Instead, I was staring at my bedroom ceiling. The clock on my nightstand read 6:15 a.m., but not today's date. It was exactly 1 month before the night they killed me. I sat up so fast, my head spun. My fingers went to the spot where Ryan's shove had split my scalp. Smooth skin, no bruise, no dried blood. I should have been terrified. I should have questioned whether I was dreaming or losing my mind. But instead, I felt something else, a calm, slow-burning rage. If fate was giving me a second chance, I wasn't wasting it. That day at work, I kept my head down. I went through spreadsheets, signed routine approvals, answered polite emails, all while my mind was running faster than my hands. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I smiled at Mom's casual texts. I even liked one of Melissa's ridiculous Instagram photos, because this time, I wasn't going to be their victim. That night, I called Olivia Grant. Carol, it's nearly midnight, she groaned when she picked up. What's going on? I need to understand something about contracts, I said. Specifically, how someone can be legally bound to terms they don't bother reading. Olivia sighed. Are you planning to scam someone? No, I said. I'm planning to make someone pay for what they've done, and I want it airtight. There was a pause on the line. Then she said, meet me tomorrow, bring coffee, and whatever this is, make sure I'm not disbarred for helping you. The next day, Olivia laid it out for me. If you sign without reading, you're still liable. If the terms are harsh but legal, too bad. And if you default on a loan with penalties, those penalties stick, as long as the paperwork is solid. I was practically buzzing. Ryan and Melissa's greed had always been their Achilles heel. I just needed the perfect bait. 2 days later, Melissa handed it to me without even realizing. We were at Mom's kitchen table, pretending to have a normal family dinner. Between bites of overpriced takeout, Melissa started bragging about a 10-carat diamond ring she'd seen downtown. Real diamonds, Carol, not that lab-grown stuff you probably wear. Ryan smirked. We could buy it tomorrow if we wanted. I smiled sweetly, playing along. You should. A ring like that, it's an investment. And just like that, the trap was set in my mind. They wanted luxury? I'd hand deliver it. Wrapped in legal chains they'd never escape from. But I couldn't make a move too soon. I needed them to trust me, to think I was still the gullible little sister who would do anything for them. So I laughed at Ryan's jokes. I let Melissa insult my boring clothes. I even helped Mom with her garden, like nothing had changed. Because the best revenge isn't quick. It's slow, precise. And it doesn't just break your enemy's body. It breaks their entire life. Ryan had the same old fake charm in his eyes. Melissa had her rehearsed laugh, the kind she used when she wanted people to think she liked them. But now, I could hear the cracks in their performance. The clipped tone when I said no. The flicker of annoyance when I didn't fall for their little guilt trips. They didn't know it yet, but they were performing for the last time. 3 days after the diamond ring conversation, I texted Ryan, Carol, got an idea for how you could get Melissa's ring. Ryan, yeah? Carol, let's meet, just you and me, no Mom. We met at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, one of those cozy spots with dim lighting, soft jazz, and overpriced espresso. Ryan arrived late, of course. He sat down, leaned back, and gave me the smug smile of a man who thought the world owed him everything. So, little sis, you gonna help me buy my wife her dream ring? I took a slow sip of coffee, pretending to think. I know a guy, I said. Ryan's interest sharpened insta. I told him about David Ross, a well-connected jewelry dealer who sometimes worked with private clients for special financing. Special financing? Ryan asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, high-ticket items, no bank involved. Just sign a contract and agree to the terms. Pay it off in a month, or the penalties kick in. Ryan smirked. And what kind of penalties are we talking about? Double the total amount, maybe more, depending on the deal. I said casually. His smirk didn't fade. That's nothing. I've flipped bigger debts than that. Oh, Ryan, you have no idea. 2 nights later, Melissa called me, her voice dripping with fake gratitude. Carol, Ryan says you found a way for us to get the ring. You're amazing. I pictured her perfect manicure, the smug tilt of her head. She thought I was stupid. I kept my voice warm. You two deserve it. Let's meet David on Saturday. He's expecting us. That Saturday, the 4 of us, me, Ryan, Melissa, and David Ross, stood inside Ross & Co. Fine Jewelry. The place smelled like wealth. Polished marble floors, gold-framed mirrors, and lighting so perfect it made everything sparkle. David was tall, silver-haired, and sharp-eyed. I'd met him years ago through a charity gala. He owed me a favor, and today he was going to deliver. Melissa's gasp when she saw the 10-carat diamond could have won an Oscar. Ryan looked like he'd just been handed the keys to a sports car. David played his part beautifully. Now the ring's listed at $85,000. With private financing, I'd need you to sign a one-page contract. Simple terms. Ryan didn't even glance at the paper. Melissa didn't ask a single question. They both signed. And in that moment, watching their pens scratch across the page, I knew. They had just built the prison they'd be living in for a very long time. The moment Ryan and Melissa signed that contract, the countdown began. 30 days. 30 days until the simple debt would double into something they couldn't crawl out of. For the first week, I played the role of supportive sister. I texted Melissa, "Can't wait to see you wear that ring," with heart emojis. I even dropped by Mom's house and told her Ryan was finally turning his life around. It was all part of the illusion, because behind the scenes, I was making sure Ryan's so-called business deals dried up like a puddle in the Vegas sun. One call to an old contact shut down a real estate lead he was chasing. Another casual conversation with a supplier made them rethink working with him. The thing about Ryan was, he'd never been self-made. He was connection-made. And I was severing every one of those strings. Melissa didn't help his situation. She treated the ring like a crown jewel, wearing it to brunches, posting selfies on Instagram with captions like #QueenVibes, the kind of attention that made people wonder where the money came from. Rumors started, and in Ryan's world, rumors kill faster than facts. By week 2, cracks were showing. Ryan came to me, pacing like a caged animal. "Carol, you know I'll get you your cut once I flip this deal. But I cut him off. "You don't owe me, Ryan. You owe David Ross. And from what I hear, he's not a patient man." He flinched, just a little. But I saw it. Melissa tried a different approach. One night, she cornered me in Mom's kitchen. "You've always been jealous of us," she hissed. "Ryan's the favorite, and you can't stand it. That's why you're helping David crush us." I laughed, not the polite laugh, the kind that says you have no idea what's coming. By week 3, David made his first call. Ryan didn't answer. David left a message that made my skin prickle, and I wasn't even the target. "Your payment's due in 7 days. If it's not here, I'll be seeing you in court, or somewhere worse." I knew Ryan. When he's desperate, he gets reckless. When he's reckless, people get hurt. So I braced myself, because I had a feeling he was about to make a move that would push this game into dangerous territory. By Monday morning, Ryan's usual arrogance was gone. His hair was uncombed, his shirt rumpled, his eyes darting like he was being followed. Melissa tried to keep up appearances, still flaunting the diamond, but even she had started glancing over her shoulder. Tuesday, David Ross called again. This time, his tone wasn't polite. "Ryan, Melissa, 5 days left. Miss that deadline and your payment doubles to $170,000. You signed for it. You know the terms. There's no way out." I could almost hear the sweat breaking out on Ryan's forehead. Wednesday, Mom called me. "Carol, your brother says you know this Ross man. Can't you, I don't know, talk to him, work something out?" I let my voice drop into something sharp. "Mom, I can't make his debt disappear. And maybe it's time Ryan learned what happens when you take what doesn't belong to you." She didn't answer, just hung up. Thursday, Melissa showed up at my office. Not a call, not a text. She physically walked in. All fake smiles for my coworkers, but her nails digging into my arm when she pulled me aside. "You think this is funny?" she whispered. "You're letting your own family get destroyed over a piece of paper?" I leaned in so close she could feel my breath. "No, Melissa. I'm letting my family get destroyed over greed. That ring on your finger? It's your handcuff. Wear it proudly." By Friday, Ryan was desperate enough to call in a favor from a loan shark he'd burned years ago. The man laughed in his face. Word was already out. Ryan Morgan was radioactive. Thursday, Melissa showed up at my office. Not a call, not a text. She physically walked in. All fake smiles for my coworkers, but her nails digging into my arm when she pulled me aside. "You think this is funny?" she whispered. "You're letting your own family get destroyed over a piece of paper?" I leaned in so close, she could feel my breath. "No, Melissa. I'm letting my family get destroyed over greed. That ring on your finger, it's your handcuff. Wear it proudly." By Friday, Ryan was desperate enough to call in a favor from a loan shark he'd burned years ago. The man laughed in his face. Word was already out. Ryan Morgan was radioactive. Saturday morning, the deadline hit. David Ross didn't call this time. He showed up. I was already at Mom's house when his black Cadillac pulled into the driveway. Ryan opened the door, trying to look calm. Melissa stayed behind him, clutching her robe like a shield. David stepped inside, calm as winter. "Time's up," he said. "Where's my money?" Ryan stammered something about a deal closing next week. David smiled, slow and cold. "That's not what the contract says." He pulled a folded document from his coat pocket, the exact contract Ryan had signed without reading. The ink might as well have been blood. Melissa tried to speak, but David cut her off. "You owe me $170,000. You have 10 days to pay in full before I file in court. And when I do, it won't just be your finances on the line. It'll be your freedom." I didn't say a word. I just stood in the corner, watching my brother and his wife realize they had walked into a trap of their own making. The sweetest part? They still didn't know I'd built it for them. 10 days. That's all David gave them. But in the right hands, 10 days can be enough to crush a person completely. By day 2, David Ross had filed his lawsuit. Breach of contract, damages, interest, legal fees, the works. Ryan and Melissa were officially defendants in a case that could strip them bare. And I wasn't done. That night, I sat across from Olivia Grant at a quiet downtown bar. She's the kind of woman who makes you think twice before lying. Sharp eyes, calm smile, and a brain like a steel trap. "So let me get this straight," she said, leaning in. "They not only stole public funds you were responsible for, but then they used the money to cover personal expenses and signed a private loan they can't repay?" "That's about the size of it," I said, taking a slow sip of wine. Olivia smiled in a way that made me glad she was on my side. "Then we're not just talking civil court. That's criminal fraud. And you have evidence?" I slid a folder across the table. Bank statements, text messages, screenshots of Melissa bragging about government money in a group chat. Olivia flipped through it like she was reading a bedtime story. "This is enough to make a judge very, very interested. We'll sue them for restitution and damages. If we time this right, their case with Ross will explode at the same time as ours." For the next few days, I fed Olivia every scrap of proof I had. The night Ryan logged into my work account without permission, the transfer he made to Melissa's personal account, the exact date my audit report went missing. Piece by piece, the puzzle was building into something they couldn't talk their way out of. Meanwhile, Ryan was spiraling. Mom called me twice, once to yell, once to beg. Melissa stopped posting online. Her queen vibes had turned into radio silence. By day 7, Ryan finally called me. "Carol, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for it to get this bad. If we work together, maybe we can—" I cut him off. "You don't get to say we anymore, Ryan. Not after what you did. The next time you see me will be in court." Olivia filed the lawsuit the very next morning. The courthouse was busy, the air thick with the smell of coffee and tension. When the clerk stamped our paperwork, I felt something inside me settle. It wasn't joy. It was purpose. Ryan and Melissa were now fighting a war on two fronts. One from David Ross, one from me. And the best part? They still had no idea I'd been the architect of both. Ryan and Melissa walked in like they were heading to a funeral. Ryan wore a wrinkled suit I'd never seen before, probably borrowed. Melissa had on black, like she thought dressing somber might make her look innocent. David Ross, on the other hand, strolled in wearing a tailored charcoal suit and a watch that probably cost more than Ryan's car. He didn't even look at them, just walked straight to his attorney's table. The judge, a stern man with silver hair and a voice like gravel, opened the case file. This is a straightforward breach of contract claim. The defendants borrowed $85,000, failed to repay on time, and per their signed agreement, now owe $170,000. Am I missing anything? David's attorney stood. No, Your Honor. We have the signed contract and bank statements to prove it. Ryan tried to stand, but the judge waved him down. You'll have your turn, Mr. Morgan, but I'll warn you, this court values evidence over excuses. Melissa whispered something to Ryan, and I saw his jaw tighten. It was the same look he used to get as a kid right before throwing a punch. When it was his turn to speak, Ryan launched into a speech about how David Ross was a predator and how the contract terms were unfair. David's attorney didn't even flinch. He simply held up the contract. Mr. Morgan, is this your signature? Ryan hesitated, but nodded. And is this your wife's? Melissa's voice cracked. Yes. Then the terms were clear. You had 30 days, you failed to repay, and you agreed to the penalty. That's not predatory, that's business. The judge leaned back, eyes narrowing. Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, unless you can present evidence that this contract was signed under duress, I see no reason not to grant summary judgment to the plaintiff. Melissa's hands trembled. Ryan stared at the table. They had nothing. When the gavel fell, David Ross didn't smile. He didn't have to. The ruling was simple. Pay $170,000 plus interest and legal fees, or face seizure of assets. I walked out before they saw me. I didn't need to gloat. I wanted them to feel the walls closing in, slowly, inevitably. Because my case against them, that was next week, and compared to what I had planned, David Ross was just the warm-up. The courthouse felt colder that morning. Maybe it was the air conditioning. Maybe it was the way Ryan kept glancing at me like I was a ghost he wished would disappear. Olivia Grant stood beside me, calm and razor-sharp. Her briefcase was packed with enough evidence to bury them twice. Before the hearing began, Ryan caught me in the hallway. Carol, listen, he said, stepping too close. We're family. Whatever happened, we can fix it. Just drop this lawsuit and I cut him off. You'll what? Steal from me again? Hit me when I call you out? I'm not here for your deals, Ryan. I'm here for justice. His smile cracked, the way porcelain does before it shatters. You're going to regret this. I didn't flinch. No, Ryan, you are. Inside the courtroom, Olivia opened with precision. Your Honor, my client is suing for restitution of stolen public funds, damages to her professional reputation, and punitive damages for fraud and assault. The defendants are her brother, Ryan Morgan, and his wife, Melissa Morgan. The judge raised an eyebrow. Public funds? Yes, Your Honor, funds entrusted to my client as part of her position at the Department of Housing. Funds that were unlawfully transferred to the defendant's personal accounts and spent on luxury items. Olivia handed over the evidence. Bank records showing $42,000 moved directly from my work account into Melissa's. Screenshots of Melissa bragging about free government money in a group chat. Security logs showing Ryan's unauthorized login into my office system. The judge's expression shifted from curiosity to something colder. Ryan's lawyer tried to spin it, called it a family misunderstanding. The judge didn't buy it. "Mr. Morgan," he said, "you're not just facing a civil suit. This evidence could be forwarded to the district attorney for criminal charges. You understand that?" Ryan's face drained of color. Melissa shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Olivia leaned toward me, whispering, "They're folding. I can see it." But I didn't want them to fold. Not yet. I wanted them to squirm. The hearing adjourned for the day, but not before the judge ordered them to provide a full accounting of their finances within 72 hours. As we left, Melissa's voice followed me down the hall. "You're destroying us." I didn't turn around. That's the point. 3 days. That's how long the judge gave them to produce their financial records. 3 days to hand over every account, every asset, every lie. Olivia and I both knew they'd try to cheat. Ryan was never the come-clean type. He was the burn-the-evidence type. Sure enough, by day 2, rumors started swirling. A friend of a friend said Ryan had been spotted at a late-night diner with a man known for making problems disappear. Melissa, meanwhile, had been quietly pawning off smaller jewelry pieces, nothing that would raise immediate red flags, but enough to skim cash without being obvious. That's when Olivia called me, voice low. "Carol, you're not going to believe this. Their first submission to the court. It's missing over $30,000 in withdrawals from the last 6 months. Where did it go?" I asked. "That's the thing," she said. "We might have found it." That night, Olivia handed me a flash drive. Inside was a spreadsheet, a ledger Melissa had kept in her personal email. Every transaction was logged in detail, dates, amounts, and notes. And one of those notes made my blood run cold. It wasn't just jewelry or vacations. They'd been funneling money to an off-the-books fund, paying someone named Harris for cleaning up loose ends. I knew that name. Years ago, Harris had been caught intimidating witnesses in a fraud case. He wasn't just muscle, he was a fixer. If Ryan was paying him now, it meant my lawsuit wasn't the only thing in danger. Olivia's eyes were hard. "This is bigger than civil court now. We need to bring in the district attorney's office." But that means you could be dragged into a criminal trial, and Ryan might not go quietly. I thought about it for a long time. The smart move would have been to step back, but I'd been dead once. Fear didn't work on me anymore. "Do it," I told her. "Burn them to the ground." The next morning, Olivia forwarded the ledger to the DA. Within hours, subpoenas were being drafted. And that's when Ryan called me again. "You think you've won?" he hissed. "You have no idea what you've started." I hung up without a word, but my hands, they were shaking. 2 days after we sent the ledger to the district attorney, the knock came, but not on my door. Ryan's neighbor, an old woman who liked to gossip, called me that afternoon. "Carol, there are 2 men in suits at your brother's house. They've been there all morning." That was the DA's office, and I knew exactly what they were looking for. Later, Olivia called. "They've served search warrants on both Ryan and Melissa. Phones, computers, even safety deposit boxes. If Harris is still in the picture, the DA wants to know." I felt a rush of satisfaction. For months, I'd been picturing this moment, their smugness stripped away, replaced by panic. But that night, the high didn't last. I was locking up my apartment when I saw it. A black sedan parked across the street, engine running. Too far away to see the driver's face, but close enough that the headlights caught me dead in their beam. I froze. They didn't move. The next morning, there was a note under my windshield wiper. It said only 4 words: "Stop, or you're next." Olivia's face went pale when I showed her. "This is Harris. It has to be. The DA needs to know you've been threatened. This changes the case. It shows they're trying to intimidate a witness. Part of me wanted to laugh. A month ago, I'd have been terrified. Now, I was angry. Tell the DA I'm not stopping, I said. They came for my life once. They don't get a second try. The next week, the DA filed formal charges against Ryan and Melissa. Fraud, misappropriation of public funds, witness intimidation. Their civil troubles had just turned into a full-blown criminal case. And me? I was just getting started. A morning, Ryan tried to save himself. The sky was gray and heavy, like it knew something ugly was about to happen. Olivia got the call from the DA's office first. Your client's brother just walked in unannounced, the prosecutor said. Says he's willing to talk. I almost laughed. Ryan wasn't coming clean out of guilt. He was bargaining. Sure enough, when we got to the courthouse conference room, there he was. His suit looked slept in, his hair uncombed. Melissa wasn't with him. He didn't look at me, didn't even glance at Olivia. He spoke directly to the DA. I'll tell you everything about the money and Harris if you drop the charges. The prosecutor didn't even blink. That's not how this works. You cooperate, and maybe the sentencing recommendation is lighter, but you're not walking away. Ryan's jaw twitched. You don't get it. Harris isn't someone you just arrest. He's got people, real people. If I talk, we're all in danger, even her. He jerked his head toward me. Olivia's voice was ice. She's already in danger, Ryan, thanks to you. For a second, I thought he might explode or break down. Instead, he leaned forward and lowered his voice. Check the storage unit on 5th and Alder, number 302. That's all I'm saying. The DA agreed to send investigators, and that night the results came in. Unit 302 was filled with boxes of financial ledgers, stacks of prepaid debit cards, a locked metal briefcase containing $18,000 in cash, and a burner phone with Harris's number still in the call log. It was enough to connect Harris to multiple fraud operations, not just mine. That's when my hidden ally stepped forward. Detective Mark Sloan. He'd been tracking Harris for nearly 6 years, building a web of evidence against him. When he shook my hand, his grip was steady. You just gave me the missing link, Carol. You didn't just start your own revenge. You kicked open the door on his entire operation. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt the familiar burn of unfinished business. Because Harris was still out there. And the look in Detective Sloan's eyes told me he wasn't sure which one of us he'd get to first. They say the first time you see a predator, it's already been watching you for days. I believe that now. It happened on a Wednesday. I just left Olivia's office after a long strategy session. The civil trial was still moving forward, but now it was tangled up with the criminal case. Ryan and Melissa were lawyering up with people who charged more per hour than most people make in a week. We were gaining ground, but Harris was a ghost. Until he wasn't. I was halfway to my car when I saw him. Tall, lean, a face that would blend in anywhere, except for the eyes. Cold, gray, and locked on me. He didn't speak at first. Just leaned against the driver's side of my car like he owned it. You're making a lot of noise, Carol, he finally said. His voice was calm, almost bored. Noise like that, it gets people hurt. I glanced around the parking lot, empty except for us. I'm not scared of you. A slow smile spread across his face. You should be. He took something from his coat pocket and set it on the hood. A Polaroid photograph. It was my apartment door. From inside the building. I picked it up without showing him my hands were shaking. You break into people's homes now? He shrugged. I prefer to call it keeping tabs. Before I could reply, a black SUV rolled up to the curb. 2 men got out. Harris turned to leave, but not before leaning close enough for me to smell the faint trace of smoke on his jacket. Drop the case. he whispered. Or next time I won't knock. By the time the SUV pulled away, Olivia was already on the phone with Detective Sloan. Within an hour, I was sitting in a precinct conference room, describing Harris's face for a sketch artist. Sloan's expression was tight. He's testing boundaries. If he's showing himself now, it's because he thinks he's untouchable. That's when men like him make mistakes. Maybe Sloan was right. But sitting in that room, staring at the sketch of Harris, I realized something. He didn't care about Ryan. He didn't care about the money. This was personal now. The thing about fear is, it wears you down slowly. You don't notice the weight until it's crushing you. By Friday, I was barely sleeping. Every creak in the floorboards, every car slowing outside my apartment felt like a warning. It started small that morning. A package on my doorstep. No return address. Inside, a single diamond earring. Not new. The clasp bent, the surface scratched. I knew exactly where it came from. Melissa's jewelry box. By afternoon, it escalated. Olivia called from her office, voice tight. "Carol, your lawsuit files, the hard copies we keep here. Someone broke in. The police are already here. Nothing else was taken. No computers, no cash. Just the box, with every printed exhibit for my case." Detective Sloan's theory was grim. Harris is cutting at your foundations. First your home, then your evidence. If you don't push back now, he'll take something you can't replace. I knew what he meant. That night, I made the call. I told Olivia we were accelerating the lawsuit schedule. If we got Ryan and Melissa under oath faster, maybe they'd panic and give Harris up before he could do more damage. She hesitated. "Carol, you're putting yourself in the crosshairs." I almost laughed. I've been in them since the day I came back. But Harris wasn't done. The next evening, as I walked home, I saw movement in my apartment window. A shadow. Tall. Still. I ran up the stairs 2 at a time. But when I got inside, the place was empty. Except for one thing. On my kitchen counter sat the same Polaroid from before. Only now, the door in the photo was open. I knew it was coming. You can feel it when a storm's about to break. The air goes sharp, every sound too loud. It was just after midnight when the noise woke me. Not a knock, not a crash, a click. The sound of my front door unlocking from the outside. I didn't move. I'd prepared for this. Under the couch cushion was a small recording device Detective Sloan had given me. Voice activated, long battery life. If Harris came in, I wanted proof. I hit the record button and slipped into the shadowed corner of the living room. The door opened. Harris stepped inside like he owned the place. No mask, no gloves. That told me 2 things. He didn't expect to get caught. If he did, he didn't care. "You're a stubborn one, Carol," he said, scanning the room. "This could have ended quietly. But now you've made it personal." I stayed still, heart pounding. Let him talk. Then he reached into his jacket. For a split second, I thought it was a weapon, but it was worse. A small envelope. He tossed it onto the table. "Your next court date? You're not making it there." He turned to leave. That's when I stepped out of the shadows. "Smile for the camera, Harris." His eyes flicked to the red light on the recorder. For the first time, his mask cracked. "You think that's enough to stop me?" he growled. "No," I said, walking toward the door. "But combined with the security feed Detective Sloan's been watching since you stepped inside? Yeah, it's enough." 2 officers were waiting in the hallway, guns drawn. Harris froze as they closed in, the cuffs snapping tight around his wrists. Sloan stepped past him, giving me a nod. "Got it all. Breaking and entering. Threats. You just put the last nail in his coffin." For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Harris was in custody. Ryan and Melissa had lost their enforcer. But I wasn't done yet, because the civil trial was still ahead, and without Harris, they had no one left to hide behind. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cold coffee. It was the kind of smell that clings to you, like the weight of unfinished business. Ryan sat at the defense table, jaw clenched. Melissa was beside him, looking everywhere but at me. Without Harris, they looked smaller, like kids caught stealing from the cookie jar, not the people who had once stolen my future. Olivia leaned toward me. Remember, today's about the money. The criminal trial is separate. You win this, you get it back with interest. I nodded, but in my head it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about them hearing, publicly, under oath, what they'd done. When I took the stand, the courtroom was silent. I told them everything: the stolen funds, the forged documents, the night Ryan killed me in my first life, though in this one I phrased it as the assault that could have ended my life. Melissa shifted uncomfortably. Ryan wouldn't look up. Then Olivia brought out the contracts, the loan agreements they'd signed without reading, promising double repayment, the jewelry receipts, the bank statements showing the deposits, and the withdrawals that went straight into Harris's accounts. Piece by piece, the story came together like a noose tightening. The defense tried to paint me as vindictive. I smiled when they said it. "You're right," I told them, "but being vindictive doesn't make me wrong." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge smirked. By the afternoon, it was over. The verdict came down. Ryan and Melissa were to repay the stolen funds in full, plus damages and legal costs. Their accounts were frozen, their assets seized, and with Harris facing criminal charges of his own, they had no one left to bail them out. Outside the courthouse, Olivia hugged me. "You did it. You actually did it." I looked back at the doors where my family, my former family, had just walked out in handcuffs for the criminal trial. "No," I said quietly. "We did it, and I'm never letting anyone take my life from me again." That night, for the first time since I'd woken up in this second chance, I slept without fear. The storm had passed, but I'll tell you a secret. Some storms leave you stronger than before.